Everybody please come back to your seats.
Thank you. Thank you, Londi. The voice of authority there. That worked, eh? Very good, very good. Okay, everybody, I hope you had a good tea. No, don't worry about me. Okay. So, that was a very, very interesting conversation. I confess, I wasn't sure I would be able to understand and relate to it, but I found myself being very drawn into the topic of the last panel. So if we can all settle down. Thank you. It's time to start again, and we're going to have our second panel. But before, I just wanted to reflect a little bit on what they said in this panel. There was one thing that struck me was the rapid change, and I think we must all acknowledge this, is that the extraordinarily speed with which change happens in the technological universe, whether it's AI or other. And I was reminded, as he was talking, and at some of the very crude attempts of description, and I wasn't even aware that this was possible. And I was doing a webinar in about 2021, and I had created a PowerPoint presentation, and it depicted me in various places with my guide dog at the time. And it was a webinar on universal access and the travel chain. And so there's me getting on a train, there's me getting on a bus, there's me walking at a pavement, me at a robot at a traffic light, and with my guide dog. But the automatic description provided by Microsoft, every time there was a picture, as I was going through the presentation, it would say, middle-aged man wearing a jersey and a hat and a sheep. Or a middle-aged man wearing a jersey and a hat and a pig. At not one point did it say it was a dog. Extraordinary. So, moving swiftly along, we have our next very exciting, and it's so nice, nicely timed this. And it would have been, it's more useful having it now. This particular panel discussion is on the end user, the actual AD user. Something which I believe is often overlooked, frankly, in many technological advancements, is in fact, who is it intended for? And how do we use it? And what are the problems associated with its use? And that, of course, is often a reflection of how often we are not consulted. And we're seeing this with the quality with AD diminishing in some ways with movies. I've seen some appalling audio description in movies in Netflix and Apple. And so the end user is an essential topic. And who else to host a talk on, or the panel on end user, or the AD user, is our very own and loved Shakila Maharaj.
So good morning, everyone, and thank you very much. So this session is going to look at us as users of audio description and how we see the future unfolding, how we experience audio description, what do we see as good description, what do we see as bad description, the diversity in how we consume description. But before we get into all of that, I'm going to quickly turn to our online panelists. I want to say hello to, we have Senator Kerryann Ifill, who is from the Caribbean. Kerryann is a senator and an advocate for audio description. Kerryann, are you there?
Good morning, everyone, and greetings from the beautiful island of Barbados.
Wonderful. Kerryann, do you want to quickly describe yourself to us?
I am a Black woman with short, waist-length sister locks. I am, what else do I say? I'm wearing a dress And just in case anything black and white walks past my video, my cat is wondering why I'm out of bed so early, so she's a bit disturbed.
Can everyone hear clearly?
Yeah.
Okay. Kerryann, can you hear us clearly?
Loud and clear.
Okay, brilliant. So thank you. And what time is it there, Kerryann?
It is 4:46 a.m.
Well, thank you for waking up so early.
Not a problem at all.
Kerryann, is it okay to turn your video on?
Oh, I thought it was on. Oh dear. Hang on. Yes, give me a second. Let me see if I can fix that problem. I did turn on the video.
While you're doing that, I'll go over to Sandra. So remember, for our site-dependent persons here, we usually don't turn the video on.
Oh, okay. Her video is on, but she needs to turn on the lights.
Lights.
She needs to turn the lights on.
Kerryann, hold on, I got a technical thing for you. Our technical experts here say your video is on, but your lights are not on.
The room is dark.
It's early hours of the morning and it's dark in the room.
Yes, I just turned it on.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And
Brilliant. Sandra?
can you see me now?
We're probably looking at the beach and the palm trees, are we?
No, we're looking at
I hope not. It's pouring with rain this morning, so no beach, no palm trees.
Okay. Barbados. Wow. All right, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Are you there?
Good morning, Shakila. Yes, ma'am. I'm coming and sending greetings from Rockville, Maryland, where it is 4:47 a.m.
So, Sandra, Washington, D.C. So,
Yes.
do you want to give us a quick description?
Absolutely. So I'm a Black woman wearing a pantsuit that is primarily black, and I am wearing shoulder-length braids.
Lovely. So, thank you. And I'm going to move immediately to our panelists that are here in person. So, who is?
Hendrick.
Oh, Hendrick, how did I forget you? Hendrick, are you there?
I am here, Shakila, I am here.
And Hendrick is part of the ShazaCin team, but is also part of the SANCB Assistive Technology team. So, Hendrick, quickly introduce yourself and describe yourself to us.
My name is Hendrick Steyn. I am advisor to ShazaCin on the program, but maybe we can talk about that a little bit later. I am a middle-aged man going bald with very short hair. I'm trying to hide my baldness. Unfortunately, it doesn't work. I am wearing, well, a shirt. Now, I forgot the color of the shirt, but yeah, I'm here if not in body, I'm here in spirit with you guys, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Hendrick. And Hendrick, you can greet our Dr. Joel because you are old chummies and you met in the past.
Oh yes, I remember the first time you came to South Africa, Dr. Joel. It was inspiring. And thank you for coming out once again and making the symposium work for us.
Thank you. So let me move to my right. Who's next to me, please? Nevil Balakrishna. And Nevil is very academic and philosophic in his thinking, so we'll have to keep up with you, Nevil.
So I'm going to have to introduce myself, right?
Yep.
Okay. Hi, everybody. It's Nevil Balakrishna. I've never been asked to describe myself before, but I'm going to tell you what people say about me, and I hope that might suffice. People say I'm extremely good looking. I'm follically challenged, and I'm wearing an African sort of ethnic print T-shirt and jeans today.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, that's me.
Thank you, Neville. And who's to your right, Neville? Tracy. Tracy, you described yourself earlier, and I hope everyone remembered.
Yep, hope everyone remembered, because I can't remember. I'm Tracy Smith, and I work for ShazaCin as audio sound technician and app admin. I work on the back panel there.
And who's to your right? Dina?
Dina's to my right.
Good morning, everybody. What am I supposed to say about myself? I think all of you know me already. Dina Modley, I'm generally involved in technology of some kind. Not that I really know much about what I'm doing. Description? Well, I've never ever described myself like Neville as well. My wife says I look ugly. Every time she wakes up, she thinks she's woken up next to someone else.
Oh. Don't believe her.
and the only thing that smiles at me is my teeth the next morning when I see it next to the bed. All right. I'm slightly balding. And I'm about 1 meter 70. My stomach tends to walk about 3 meters in front of me.
Is that correct, guys? No. Stop hallucinating there, Dina. Okay.
All right. So, okay. But it's been, it's nice to be actually on this panel and be able to discuss audio description.
Thank you. So my very first question is going to be, and I'm going to go to our online panelists and go over to Kerryann. Kerryann, tell us how you got involved in audio description and when, and the current status in your area of the world. So how you got involved, when did you start listening to it, and what's the current status in your part of the world?
The first time I got involved with audio description would be on a visit to Manitoba over Christmas in 2017. And it was an awful movie, but I wanted to enjoy the experience of audio description in a movie theater. Prior to that, I downloaded movies, watched a few on Netflix with audio description. But on this occasion, it was a fantastic feeling to be sitting in the same theater with however many other people watching this terrible movie and having these awful scenes described. But being a part of the total experience was absolutely wonderful. And ever since then, we've been trying to get it here in the local movie theaters and those, that sort of thing. We have the National Cultural Foundation. They're responsible for locally created content and what's not. Today, unfortunately, we don't have much buy-in to audio description. So it's still very much in its very, very, very embryonic stages. But the fact that we're getting people to actually begin conversations on it is at least a step in the right direction, though a baby step.
And just to follow up on that, your role as a senator, tell us a little about that. And
that's one correction I have to make. I am a former senator. However, having been in the Senate, I served as the president of the Senate for 6 years, and then we had elections, so that changed. But since then, I still work as the president of the Caribbean Council for the Blind. I'm public relations officer for the National United Society of the Blind. And my role in government, my former role in government, has given me entree into a realm of society where I get to advocate and so on because people are working with me. So a couple years ago, I worked as deputy chair of the National Committee to Improve the Lives of Persons with Disabilities. And in January of this year, we were able to have the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act passed in Parliament. So I'm still very much involved in making policy for persons with disabilities.
With respect to audio description, has there been any laws around that or enforcement? Any provisions, any codes?
Well, unfortunately, the law was, as you know, we operate on the Westminster system just like South Africa. And therefore, we have, the act was passed, but it is still waiting to be proclaimed, so it's not enforced as yet. So we've been doing a lot of sensitization. We have 2 young persons with legal training serving as national disabilities advocates. One of them is the first totally blind lawyer in Barbados, and their role is to pilot the legislation, to consult with the various arms of government and engage with them. I personally engage with the National Cultural Foundation as well, and we work together to try to see. So there are laws encouraging persons to do this, but it's not been enforced as yet.
Okay, I'm going to come back to you, Kerryann, and look at what's the availability of AD in your, you may have alluded to it, but we'll look at it in more detail, and also in terms of content production, where you are. So let me go over to Sandra. Sandra, you're coming from the other, more developed part. Tell us about access to audio description and your advocacy around it, and to what extent do you consume it?
So for me, my very first introduction to audio description, well, we have Joel. So Dr. Joel, Mr. Audio Description, if you look in the dictionary under audio description, you will see Dr. Joel Snyder's picture. But when I attended ACB conventions back in the late 90s, we had, my first video that I bought was Pretty Woman. And to tell you how long ago that was back when we were still using VHS cassettes. And it was transformative, but when even more poignant, as a child, I saw the musical Phantom of the Opera. Now, Phantom of the Opera is extremely visual, and they're constantly changing set designs, costumes. So my mom's there in the theater trying to whisper and narrate. But of course, that didn't go over very well. Years later, I saw it again with audio description, and it made all the difference. I then understood what the hoopla about Phantom of the Opera was all about, because the imagery, the sets, the chandeliers were spectacular. And none of those things are auditory. So if they are not described for a person who's blind, then it goes over our head. I miss it altogether. So that was my first real experience with audio description, and I've been using it ever since.
Tell me, Sandra, to what extent do you have availability of description with your television networks and cinema?
We do have pretty good amounts of description. Sometimes we have issues because the cable companies don't want to pass it through, but we do have good amount of programming, various genres. And so, particularly, I'm a huge Netflix person, so I definitely avail myself of it. New Amsterdam, all of the Chicago Med, all of those series that I love are enhanced with audio description.
Great. So we'll come back to you,
And then
Sandra.
when we go to the theaters, it's available, but it's quite often it's hit or miss because the equipment isn't necessarily maintained or the staff doesn't always know how to use it, but it at least opens the door for the conversation. I had an experience where I went to go see The Fire Inside, which is the first female boxer, and it was available, but it was not available at the time that I went, in the theater that I went, because the staff was unfamiliar. So they gave me a free ticket to come back. And when I got back, I went again, and they had it up and running, and it was fabulous.
Joe told us that story. Yeah. So thanks for sharing, and we'll be coming back to you. Let me go over to our team here in South Africa. So Dina, you are a really techie person. You keep up to date with all that's going on, especially around assistive technology and software. When did you start first? When did you first hear about AD? When did you start using it? How much of it do you use?
It's a very interesting question. I don't think many people realize it, but when you listen to radio and sport in the late 70s, early 80s, you had wonderful descriptions of sporting events. And for me, that was my first exposure to audio description. Because the commentators of those days, they used to call them commentators. The commentators used to be very descriptive when they actually commentated. They gave you great detail, but with the advent of television these days, the detail is now, we no longer get that detail. So for instance, now you'll suddenly hear, oh, it's a great shot, but it tells me nothing. Right? So you sit there and you wonder, what happened? What did they do? But that was my first exposure, basically, to audio description. And then...
in an informal sense, right? Because they were not audio describers per se. But they were very descriptive in their commentary. Very
descriptive with the way they were doing it.
Because TV came late to South Africa, and consequently, radio announcers and commentators were quite sophisticated at that time. Not to say they aren't now, in case Darren is listening somewhere.
But I think it's the difference now is because they cater to a visual audience. They do not describe as much as they used to.
Yes.
And that's where the problem is. I was also involved in the 2010 World Cup, South African World Cup, when they had audio description in the stadiums. And that was very, very nice because you got into a stadium, you were given a MP3 player that had a special channel on it, and you could actually listen to audio description of the actual games. So this wasn't commentary, was proper audio description, and those were people that were actually trained to describe.
Yep. I think that was our first taste of audio described soccer or football, right?
Yeah.
And that was a FIFA initiative.
FIFA World Cup in 2010, South Africa.
It was actually quite astounding for us in South Africa. It was a FIFA initiative, and the Swiss Organization for the Blind were brought out. Lydia would remember that. And they trained local journalists in AD, and then we were allowed as blind spectators to go to the matches and tune into a channel where we got audio-described commentary. It was our only taste of it, and it never continued thereafter. it left us hungry, and that was it. Hungry for more. So thank you, Dina. Let me go over to Tracy. Tracy, when did you first start using and listening to audio description?
My first taste of audio description was also listening to sport. I remember watching the World Cup with my grandpa, and he had the TV sound off, and I had the radio on. And we'd sit on the couch, and we'd enjoy the cricket together.
But formal audio description, Tracy?
And then formal audio description, I got a taste of it when I was in grade 11, standard 9 in those days, when I went to a theatre in Cape Town, the Baxter Theatre, and they had a descriptive, audio described version of The Elephant Man. And we had earphones that you put over your head, and then you'd get the description through the headphones.
That was excellent. I wasn't aware of that. And that was in Cape Town in which year?
That was 1997? Yeah, 1997.
And was it actually labeled as audio description?
Yeah, it was labeled. They actually brought a busload of the school kids from the Pioneer School where I was attending at that stage, especially because it was audio described for blind.
And was the term audio description used at that stage?
Well, I don't know. I was young there. I didn't know. I just know that it was described for blind people to be able to.
So I'm thinking there was an understanding and awareness around the need that we had to grasp the visuals.
Yes.
And a level of description was getting provided, whether they were formally trained in it or not, is highly unlikely that they were, right? But there was a sense of needing to provide such a service. Okay, excellent.
Yeah, it was audio description the way I know it today, but I didn't at that stage. It was the first taste of it that I had.
And pre-recorded on film? When did you start experiencing that?
When I started working and started downloading audio description from the internet, and then I got a taste of it.
Okay, thanks. Nevil? Same question to you, Nevil? Must I go over it?
Yeah, no, it's fine. I have another question. So, I don't know if you remember, and Dina might remember this. So the context is when you're at a school for the blind, one of the things that you experience is, in those days, a very small television screen with lots and lots of low vision people. So I want you to imagine, I'm going to describe this so you need to imagine it. So there's a small television in a little room, and probably about 20 to 25 people who are low vision trying to see whatever you could see on a black and white TV. And what would happen is the ones with very low vision would get to the front and get their noses literally in front of the screen. So those with sort of better vision would sit at the back, and so you'd get more of the head of the person in front than of the screen. So that's been our experience with television in school. And as a consequence of that, many of us then started to get interested in well, like Dina, we were very passionate about cricket. So cricket was a big thing, and the best way you could get cricket was on radio. And so we all got used to listening to cricket on radio, and it actually did a lot for our grammar as well, because I think we would they used to have these commentary for like half an hour in English and half an hour in Afrikaans, and so you get to experience all of that. But then at the end of a busy school week, if you're over 40, 45, then this might sound familiar. There was a radio station, I think it was Springbok Radio, And it used to say, it's 8:30 on Friday, and it's time for squad cars. And that was our introduction to listening very attentively, but also our imagination being open to the things that was being said. And I think one of the most popular lines was, they prowl the empty streets at night.
Let me go
in fast cars. These are the men of squad cars. So that was our introduction.
Yeah, so I'm beginning to get a sense of how differently we are viewing audio description, right? Yeah. And the initial exposure to following something by voice,
yeah,
and grasping it and conjuring up pictures,
yeah,
images in our heads,
yeah,
and beginning to understand stories that are being told.
Yes.
So that's what's coming across, whether it's sports.
Yes.
So it's for us as blind people, it was an emerging skill we were acquiring the way I'm seeing it. Yeah. Let me quickly ask Hendrick.
I'll say before you go, I want
you want to add one more thing?
I want to add one more. While I'm on this roll, I was thinking about what I'm going to say.
30 seconds.
So cricket was our passionate, right? And then they used to have this famous cricket commentator by the name of Charles Fortune. And Charles Fortune had this habit of describing in absolute detail everything that happened on the ground except the cricket. And he would go something like, oh, welcome to the Wanderers. It's a beautiful sunny day. And there's a sparrow sitting on the ground. And we're thinking, when is the first ball going to get bowled?
You still get commentators like that. I get so frustrated now with television. Hendrick, are you there?
I'm here.
So, Hendrick, tell us, in your case, when did you, you come from an academic perspective as well, because you've studied visual interpretation. So tell us about your exposure to audio description and how you've been consuming it in the early days.
When I was a first-year student in 2004, one of my professors told me, and he said, did you hear about this description for the blind? I'm like, no, what's this? And he said, well, on some movies you get a secondary track and they describe everything to you. And I would like you and me to work on a paper on this. And I said, okay, let's have a look. So he lent me one of his DVDs and I started watching this and it was mind-blowing. I never used to enjoy movies. Look, I used to love documentaries because documentaries you can sort of follow along with the narration if the narration is good enough. But then I started watching audio description on DVD and it was amazing. So if I remember correctly, it was one of the Pirates of the Caribbean series. I think it was number 2. And from there, my interest in AD grew to such an extent that it was the topic of my master's degree that I unfortunately never finished due to circumstances beyond my control. But that was my first exposure to formal audio description. I mean, look, audio description have been with mankind as long as there were people who couldn't see. Hey, what's happening? No, there's a big elephant coming our way. All right, shall we kill it or shall we run?
I can relate to that because when I went blind in my early 20s, totally, and even during the process of losing my sight, you always ask sighted persons around you to describe what's happening, whether it's the scenery or the action. So you're always looking for visual feedback. I want to quickly go around and just check. Dina, were you born blind or did you lose it in the course of your life?
Okay. I went blind when I was 6. I went to bed and I could see, and I got up in the middle of the night and couldn't see nothing. So someone told Eskom to just switch off the electricity at that point.
Permanently. So But do you recall? Do you have a visual memory of what you saw up to the age
Oh,
of
yes,
6?
yes. I have vivid memories of color and people and things. One of the images that still lingers on with me, where someone killed a 2-meter long cobra snake and actually then nailed it up against a shed. And that image is still with me. And I saw that last when I was 6.
Wow. Let me go over to Kerryann. Kerryann, were you born, are you congenitally blind, or did you lose your sight later?
I was not born blind, and I'm seriously disturbed by that image of the cobra because I am absolutely petrified of snakes. And when I was a little girl, I could see up until I was 5, and there was a television series called Starsky and Hutch.
Ah, I remember.
And one of the most memorable images I can remember, I can't remember what Starsky looked like other than he had this huge set of black hair, and Hutch was blonde. But what I do remember was a blonde woman standing outside of Starsky and Hutch's trailer or whatever it was with this backpack. And she asked to use the washroom. You're wondering where I'm going with this. Well, where I'm going with this is when they open the refrigerator later to get a bear out slithered a snake. And so that's haunted my nightmares for years. But and I do remember that cricket commentator that used to describe everything except the cricket as well. But no, the visual images that have stayed with me most vividly, other than the terrifying snake thing, would be watching birds fly home in the evening or watching a sunset. There's nothing, I can't think of anything that would have been more beautiful than watching the sunset. You know, that part where the sky absolutely bursts into flames. And that was absolutely amazing.
Beautiful. I don't know if I missed it because it's a little bit blurred trying to discern what's been said. Did you say, at what age would you have lost your sight?
I was 5 years old. Can you hear me any better now?
Yes, now I can hear you clearly. Sandra, what about you? Congenital or later?
Yes, ma'am. I'm congenitally blind.
And you know, we often get asked this by sighted people. So if you're congenitally blind, how do you perceive the world? They think we stop perceiving. So your visual frame of reference, Sandra?
For me, my parents, long before there was such a thing as audio description, they wanted me to have some idea of the world around me. So my childhood, I have so many memories of whatever was going on, whatever people, I got running descriptions of them. And so I always attached some visual, something visual. Now sometimes it may have been off kilter, but I understood at an early age that sighted people can see, and it's a visual world. And I have to have some reference point in order to navigate and to not just be one-dimensional.
Excellent. And do you find then that audio description grows that frame of reference?
Yes, it grows it, it evolves it, it lets me know, okay, in my mind, you know, my mind's eye, just because it's my mind's eye doesn't mean it's accurate, but it sort of, in some cases, it reaffirms, yes, I was on point. In others, oops, no, that's not really how things are supposed to go. That's not how they look. That's not, and just the whole availability of audio description in various venues sort of broadens, if you think about, for us as blind people, it's access to information, the world around us.
Absolutely.
And so that's definitely a game changer with respect to audio description, because it helps enhance for us the information we take in, the world, what the world looks like around us.
Thanks for that. I'm going to go over to Tracy, because Tracy, I know, is congenitally blind. She's the most descriptive person I've come across. Trace?
Okay.
So how come, Trace, when I talk to you, you're able to describe vividly to me color, shape, spatial dimension, yet you've never seen?
So yeah, I apparently I could see as a baby, but my optic nerve snapped. So I've no visual memory, but I have parents, and my mom would say to me, "You see, can you feel the sun? Can you feel the warmth? This is what yellow is, and blue, and then cold." She'll say, "Blue is cold like this. Stick your hand in this ice water. That's blue." And so different things were explained to me that way. And also I'm a very tactile person, so I associate, and I also get, I associate everything, taste, feeling, touch, everything is linked for me, but I also, audio description takes me into a place where I'm almost part of the whole scene, and I'm the things that I miss that I get from audio description.
Wonderful. Now it's very different for you, Nevil, because you low vision, right? And you can see fairly well. So how does audio description enhance your ability to appreciate the world?
I'll give very practical examples. I'm an absolute I love cricket intensely. I go to almost a lot of cricket games in Durban because my daughters are very big into cricket. My biggest problem is I'm not able to see anything happening in the ground. And when I'm at home and there's a cricket game on, I actually prefer to listen to cricket on radio than watch it on television. So audio description actually in sport, for example, must be considered more. So while I have vision, my ability to see things that's happening on a cricket pitch is very difficult. But enjoying the ambience of being in the ground, the sound and the interaction with people is great. But just to be able to follow the game is very, very difficult. So I think for me, having description does help. The other is with regard to my first exposure to audio description. I have to say thank you to you. And the first ever movie I watched. So being as analytical as I was in awe of the moment at the cinema, because there was about 14 people in the cinema. There were 8 totally blind people in the cinema.
Is this our AD movie club?
Yes.
Okay.
It was extremely fascinating for me, and I don't know, I had goosebumps because the cinema was cold or was so emotional about that time there. And there were about 2 wheelchair users, and there were some other people with other psychosocial disabilities that was in the venue. But it was fascinating. And we, by the way, watched the movie The Boy in the Striped Pajamas.
Oh,
okay,
yes.
And for different reasons, that was such a incredible movie to watch at that time. But what I thought was, wow, was something that was so inclusive. And the experience of that people had in that cinema was just amazing. And having listened to things that, I didn't really have to bother about being intense about seeing the picture as much as I could just listen to the audio description, but follow the movie. And that I thought was fascinating and worked really well for me. So I think for those of us who have different levels of low vision, actually audio descriptive audio AD can actually have a huge impact on our lives. And I would think, I mean, in the world, there's only about 36 million people who are totally blind. The majority are low vision people. And I think it has such a massive impact for so many of us.
Thanks for that, Nevil. Dina, do you want to add to what's been said along these lines? Or can I take you straight to another point, Dina?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me this. In what we've heard now, the various comments and how we're already seeing there's a diversity in how we consume it, right? Earlier on we saw there was varying understanding of what description was or is based on how we first started getting exposed to description, but now how we're consuming it. So you tell me, Dina, what is good description for you? We fast forward to present day, and now we have a great availability of description in different quality and standard. What is good description for you? What is bad? And then I'm going to go around to each of you and ask you that.
Okay.
And why is it good and bad? Because a lot depends on the perspective we're coming from.
One of the panels yesterday, Rick, mentioned some of these things. For
He's
instance,
blind, yeah.
you know, you have sound effects and the sound scheme, right? You don't want to describe what the sound effects is telling you already, unless they were really, really poor sound effects. Because I've listened to some things where someone is supposed to be walking, their voice is way over to the right, but their footsteps are on the left. So it sounds like they're totally disjointed. Okay? Now, but if it was done properly, you would actually hear the footsteps as the person speaking and moving along in the audio stream. Okay? So then you don't have to describe that they're walking. I know they're walking. I can hear it. I always hear this at the lift. The door is opening. The door is closing. Am I that stupid? I don't know that the door is opening or closing? Right. So don't tell me about things that are irrelevant. Tell me things that is essential for me to understand what is going on. That for me is quality audio description.
Let's go over to Tracy. Trace?
Okay. Come on. Okay, for no man.
Your mic is on.
Is it on out there?
What's
Okay.
good and what's bad for you?
So what's good for me is, yes, I agree with what Dina says. I don't need to hear the babies crying when I can hear the babies crying. And then the other thing I don't, I like is I don't always know body language because I was congenitally blind. So I have body language spontaneously, but I haven't been brought up in that space. So I don't, when somebody says to me, she nods, what she telling, or I don't, with the sullen expression, what does a sullen expression look like? So I like it when people explain to me why you say this person is looking sad, why you say this person is looking sullen, or that kind of thing.
You mean the physical, features that go with that emotion?
Yes, yes. And that helps me a lot because I don't want to just hear, she looks away, she looks dejected. I want to know why you say what's she doing that makes you perceive her as being dejected.
So in your case, a level of interpretation with following the action or the description. Okay.
Yes.
Let me ask Sandra, because Sandra's was born blind as well. Sandra, is it similar for you? What's good and bad description?
No, because for me, I guess while I don't know, especially these newfangled things that people do, body language, I understand solemnity, sad. I get that because I just think about, okay, what would I be looking like if I were sad? What would my expression? And so I get that. What is important for me is audio description that is culturally competent. And so let's say it's an African American film, and I want the description to match the dialect.
Illustrate what you're saying
important.
exactly.
What did you say?
Yeah, illustrate it, like when you say you want it to be culturally specific.
Yes. So in other words, with the descriptions, I don't want to know, okay, there's a tall guy. I want to know there is a tall gentleman with caramel colored skin, salt and pepper hair, those sorts of things that speak to what people actually look like, as opposed to the sort of censored down version, the politically correct version.
Yes.
Because we come in all different shapes and sizes. And my parents' descriptions as a child that I always got were very descriptive with respect to skin complexion, so that I understood that people come in all shapes and sizes, from,
And
super,
colors.
super, super fair to super, super, super dark, and everything in between.
Yes. Yeah, actually that's a thing I've noticed creeping into description for some time, a kind of censoring of what we should see, yet sighted people see everything. They'll see the brand of the vehicle, they'll see the color of the skin, the nationality, and for some reason they feel they're going to censor that out.
Why do we shy away from describing something that A, is true, and B, sighted people see it?
Mm-hmm. What's this funny description I hear all the time now? The curly-haired person. Did you hear that one? It's become a generic description on Netflix, and I'm wondering now, what are they referring to? Is that meant to be an ethnicity we got to figure out, or what? But
right.
you raise a very important point. So does anyone want to add to that, Hendrick? Good and bad description? We may not be able to go to everyone because I'm going to ask you to wrap up now. Hendrick?
Shakila, yeah, when you look at the narrative as a whole, I'm talking specifically not necessarily about documentaries, but about films. Narration is the art of telling or writing, which means you can immerse yourself into it. Good audio description should become a part of the narrative whole. It shouldn't be intrusive by being either too over-described or under-described. The sound balance should be correct. If the description is too soft and the movie too loud, or vice versa, then it's irritating and it's a distraction rather than something that I can immerse myself into. Because immersion for me is the point of watching a film. You want to watch the film to move out of your reality into the film's reality, and then with good AD, where the balance between the sound is correct and the balance between the description not over-described or under-described is correct, where emphasis is placed on only what's necessary to be described. That for me is good description, because remember, audio description is a form of translation. You translate the visual into verbal. We call it intersemiotic translation. In other words, from one system to another. And unfortunately, there will always be a little something lost in translation, whether it's from one language to the other or one system to the other.
Thank you. Tina,
Yeah, I think, the other thing as well, for instance, someone will say the tall gentleman. Now, tall to, in reference to who? Okay? Because if I'm 6 foot and they 6'1", he's not really tall to me. Okay? So maybe we should be more descriptive and say, 6'4".
Yeah.
Or whatever it
Exact.
is. Because then, even if I'm 1 meter 20, then God, that guy is huge to me then. Okay, so I think the choice of how we describe that would make a difference.
So we're touching on the complexity of description, right? And we're talking between factual, subjectivity, as well as accuracy.
Yes.
We're talking about the impossible. But in any case, eventually it's human beings that are doing the description. But you listened to the AI discussion earlier? How many of you are using AI now? And how helpful is it for you?
I use it quite extensively in lots of things we do. But it also comes down to how you prompt AI and how you craft your prompt that gives you the information you're looking for.
Okay.
If you just ask it a very generic question or give it a very, very generic prompt, you're going to get a very generic answer.
Kerryann, in your part of the world, is using AI to describe still images or even video content, is that becoming increasingly popular among us?
It is becoming increasingly popular. And I have to say, I was telling Sandra last week, I have an event that I have to be in very formal dress for. And I used the Be My Eyes AI and took photographs of the dress, each accessory, and uploaded, and then so I took the pictures all by myself with the AI thing, and then I uploaded them into ChatGPT to prompt to ask questions. Do these accessories work with this dress, and stuff like that? And what I found really interesting for me was I wore this dress about a decade ago, and I bought the accessories to go with that dress at the time, and I bought a new set of accessories for something else. So I wanted to change out the look. And without me saying I bought these originally, the AI unerringly chose the original jewelry to go with the dress,
Oh
and
my
it gave
gosh.
me makeup. Yeah, it gave me makeup tips, styling tips for my hair, chose the shoes, the whole 9 yards. So that helped me. Now, does this mean that I think it's good? Oh, and I uploaded a photograph of myself so it would get the right skin color and so on, what they suggested with the makeup prompts. Now, why did I go into all of that detail? Because that helps me when I'm going to my makeup artist this weekend to get ready for that event, to suggest this is the look I want to go with. When I go to my aesthetician to get my nails done, I can say that the dress is going to be highlighted with this and that, and I can give her, I have more control. I used to go to my aesthetician and I'd simply say, don't make me look ugly. Do something with my nails. She'd say, what color do you want? I'd say, give me a purple. But I didn't fully appreciate that lilac and lavender and purple, though in the same ballpark, are not exactly the same thing. Now, using the AI, I can get closer to what I want. So I've taken back the control in those areas. But just to wrap up on the conversation with good, bad, and indifferent description, I guess for me, it's all subjective. I am not as interested in the height or the color of the individual as I am on the seams. I'm a person, I'm very passionate about interior design. So I get a lot of my insight for design, for, things on when they describe the curtains and those kinds of things. And so I want some of that information. I'm not as interested in whether, the guy is tall or short. I'm more interested in what his what his attire is like, what his, those kinds of things, because those things to me set the stage. I prefer when I get the audio descriptions, I like to know, what the person, not so much how they look or what their color is, but more importantly, what are they doing? Are they standing? Are they sitting? Are they those kinds of things. But again, that is subjective.
Yes.
So I think when we come down to it, for good audio description, it has to capture as much as possible. No, I don't need to know that the baby's crying because I can hear the baby's crying. But I do want to know that the baby that was crying is picked up. If you just say she picks up the kid or whatever, what are they talking about? I need to get that kind of information. So
Thank you.
it's a long way to go, I think.
Yeah.
And I really look forward to the day when it's something that's not a favor done, but it's something that is done properly here in the Caribbean. Thank you.
So, Kerryann, as an audio description producer, and we develop content, and I'll show in a moment if we have time. I know we ran out of time. But my experience has been that we're a very diverse market as visually impaired persons, and our need for description and the type of description is very diverse. There are users of AD that want action, to follow the action, and there are users that want a level of interpretation accompanying the action. So there's a more visceral feel and connection with the description. So what we find, it's a challenge, and eventually if we're dealing with film, it's the duration or the time that we've got between dialogue that will determine how we prioritize what we describe. So if it's limited time, we prioritize the action and other key elements. If we've got more time, we'll add the aesthetics. So I think for all audio description content producers, they have to work with this understanding that there's a diverse market. Of course, when we start applying it in other areas like tourism and that, then there's very different, different standards that we can apply there because the time restriction is not the same. And as we move into education and mathematics and STEM literature, again, it's shifting how we can describe, because again, we may not be limited by time, or we may be. So I want to thank each of you. I think what you have succeeded in conveying is that audio description is a science. There's a body of knowledge emerging around it. It's shifting and changing because we as consumers consume it differently. And our desire for how it should be produced is also shifting. So I don't think we have time to ask questions. Do you want to ask questions, guys? Because we've run out of time. But is there anything pressing you want to ask? Okay. Is it online or in the room? In the room. Can we hear it? And Mtoko, will you line up our little promo? Or a showreel, please. Where's Mtoko? Thank you. Because a lot of people in the room haven't experienced audio description. So this is for the benefit of our sighted persons. So what's the question?
The mic is good to them.
How did you see that?
Hi, good morning. So my name is Manette Foster. I'm from SARS. I am a short, curvy person. I've got honey-colored skin, I think, curly brown hair, big eyes, nose, mouth, short. I'm wearing black and brown. So I'm quite interested in saying the following, and then the question stems from there. Dina explained that some interpretation is unnecessary to him, And Trace, and despite, and he became blind at age 6. So obviously color, the explanation of color is not necessarily unwanted. Then Tracy, she has an idea of color despite being congenitally blind due to a parental influence. So my question is, how would an ADA know what level of depth an audience needs? Because there could be a diverse range of sighted people in an audience. I mean, there could be an elementary aged children that are blind in an audience. There could be congenitally blind persons in the audience. There could be people in the audience that know color and became blind later. So are there levels of required AD available to inform the ADA associate or professional?
So,
thank you.
Thank you so much for that question. And we've got the father of description here. So you've already learned from this short discussion the diverse needs and the diverse ways in consuming it. But now we will go over to Joel, because Joel knows exactly this issue and how we have to address it. There is no one answer. It's an evolving and emerging, continually growing science. Joel, please answer.
Put him on the spot.
Yeah.
Did you see the spot?
There's no way to know, unless you're in a live setting, precisely who you're describing for, to whom you're actually providing the description. So we have to, it's a little bit like a discussion of vocabulary level when you're describing or speaking to an audience. You have to understand what is that general level of competence. In the United States, we actually aim for an 8th grade level of vocabulary. Right, we don't know in media that there's such a diverse range of people with vision loss that we're describing to. As Shakila mentioned, we might prioritize action. So it's hard to answer that question really as far as a specific guide or whatever. We try to be honest. We are in service to the people listening and to the piece that we're describing. So we want to try to take from the piece we're describing what is most important. In Color of Paradise, in that excerpt, the focus clearly from the director was how Muhammad was using his hands to interact with the tree. We took that from the director, and that's where we put the emphasis. So that's something of a general response.
A very good response. I think in conclusion, what we would like, and I'm sure everyone will join me in that on this panel, is that audio description is a necessity. It's not a luxury, it's a necessity. And once we've been exposed to it, we're not going back. And I've seen that in the AD Movie Club that I run. As I've brought in persons who are blind, who have never experienced description, they won't watch anything if it hasn't got it. The same with me. We want description. It enhances our ability to grasp the world. It enhances our effectiveness. And it enhances our mainstreaming. And access to information is what? It's literally access to life. And that's the whole point. So are you all with me on that, guys?
Yes, and I think I think the other thing we must just add, depending on the context. Of course, in some cases, in a movie situation, you've got very limited time to describe something, right? So that's when you would use a very brief description.
Yes.
But if you're doing something like STEM subjects or something, and where you have the ability to actually then, go into detail, that's when you would actually.
That's when it's critical.
So it'll depend on the context, and based on the context, you would have more detail or less detail. Thank you.
Thank you.
Another question off the floor. There's a question on the floor.
Did you leave it on the floor? Pick it up, please.
Very good. That was very sharp, Shakila.
Did it cut?
And it was me too, so that I'm the guy on the floor. But Shakila, I've got a question.
Oh, torture.
Why? But here it is. I've noticed more and more and more on Netflix, and I'm talking specifically Netflix here in South Africa. How many movies don't have English audio description, but they have other language audio description?
Yeah, America, what are you doing about that? Because you took them to court previously and won. Because, yes, Jeremy's absolutely right, Sandra. Joel. So many films. Now, I don't know if that's because of the South African membership, or is that the global membership, but so many on that streaming channel does not have audio description.
Yes.
And is there with Trump in power, are we going backwards with the availability of description? Hey, this is another topic for another day now. We have to wrap up.
Yes. And on that note, since I'm also playing MC here, my second hat
Can
now,
I just quickly
which
stop
I've just
there?
taken off the floor, excuse me, you did want to talk about round tables.
Yeah, but hold on one sec now. I just want to quickly ask Joel, do you want to respond to that question,
right.
Joel? Has there been a deterioration in availability and in terms
No,
of quantity?
I don't think so.
No.
I mean, that's a difficult question to respond to, obviously, in a public setting. But no, I don't think there's perhaps less emphasis on government regulation. So government regulation is certainly not going to expand under this administration. So that's an issue, perhaps.
Okay. So I think maybe it's maybe like streaming channels like Netflix may have a queuing system as to when they get round to doing the description for certain films, I don't know.
But it just seems so odd because there's, for instance, a movie we watched on the weekend had German, Italian, French, and Spanish audio description, but no English.
Yeah, well, maybe it's still coming then.
Well, how weird is that?
So let's wrap up now, guys, and thank you very much. Thank you in the Caribbean. Kerryann, you can hope catch a little nap now. Sandra, thank you so much for joining us. And panelists right here, I know we would have loved to have talked more, right? But we'll get another opportunity.
Yes,
So
my
thank you
pleasure.
very much. Hendrick.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Tracy.
Thank you for the opportunity, as Sandra says.
Thank you. We'll see you here in South Africa next year, guys. And
Absolutely.
bye-bye. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We go off. Can we see the movie? I'll show it. Okay, thank you.
Sekuvela lo sisi odayisayo muhle namasingile ekhanda umpofu futhi ufake lipstick epink anikezwe imvilophi ebrown ayivule ngobunono abona imali eningi engu200 phakathi akhipha iring kwi-display ayinika uJoe ayithatha uJoe lena iring enhle yesiliva uJoe insizwa entshe ebukekayo.
Should I make the receipt, sir?
So ugqoka ukotoyi akanantshebe unamasheya amakhulu futhi amnyama ngokwebala.
Katiwe and Sifiso appear on a wide path through the bush. A huge paw crashes down, stopping them dead in their tracks. A yellow-eyed lion blocks their way and charges towards them. Sifiso pushes Katiwe aside. The lion pounces, scratches the snake's belly. Sifiso recoils, then rears up, hissing at the lion. His mouth is like a cavern. His forked tongue darts out. The lion turns and flees. Sifiso proudly watches the beast retreat. Turning, he sees Katiwe unconscious.